This question is also about electromagnetic waves. It says, which of these has the shortest wavelength? So you just have to remember your electromagnetic spectrum. Starts at radio, then microwave, then infrared, then visible, then ultraviolet, then X-ray, and then gamma ray. And gamma radiation has the smallest wavelength. Radio has the longest wavelength. So we're looking for one at the furthest end of this side of the spectrum. So infrared is close to that side, microwave is even closer to radio, ultraviolet, maybe, visible light there, yeah, so it's going to be ultraviolet. That's the shortest wavelength out of these options. Then it says, which of these statements is not correct? Electromagnetic waves are longitudinal. That definitely isn't correct because electromagnetic waves are all transverse. I don't even need to read the rest of them because they absolutely transfer energy. They travel between stars because they don't require a medium, and electromagnetic waves travel at the same speed in free space. You know, we've just done a question which is very similar to that. Which of these is used for X-rays? Broadcasting television? No. Cooking a potato? No. Look at the internal structure of objects? Absolutely. We use X-rays to look at our skeletal structure and to see whether you've got any breaks in our bones. Looking through night vision goggles, no. This would be done with infrared so you can see the heat signature of different objects. Gamma radiation is used in hospitals even though it can be dangerous. Describe one use of gamma radiation in hospitals. So gamma radiation can be used either to treat cancer, which we talked about already, but hospitals also use it to sterilise medical instruments. So gamma radiation can be used to sterilise medical equipment. And the reason it can sterilise medical equipment is because it can destroy things like bacteria. In much the same way as it destroys cancer cells. This question says, explain the risks to patients and doctors of using gamma radiation. Well, gamma radiation is an ionising form of radiation along with ultraviolet X-rays. So that's the first point that I would make. Gamma radiation is highly ionising. And ionising radiation can cause cell damage or even cancer. So we can just say that ionising radiation can cause cancer. So that's the next thing we can say. And then we could go on and say that therefore they should limit their exposure by not having too many X-rays or CT scans in a given period. And of course doctors should always stand away from the scanning equipment because they're going to be using those scans day in, day out as part of their job. The final part of the question says state one way of reducing the risks to a doctor who uses gamma radiation. So we've already talked about when discussing this part of the question. They can either reduce the amount of time they spend, but also they could reduce how close they are, because either one of those two is going to limit their exposure. So it's all about limiting exposure by reducing the amount of time or working at a distance, okay? So I'm going to put both of those down. So either limit of the amount of time spent near the radiation and work at a distance from it. Another easy 8 marks.